Portrait photography. The weight of the frame. The lens that sees in the fog-draped streets of Charleston, South Carolina, where Spanish moss hung like specters from ancient oaks, Evelyn Voss's portrait studio, Voss and Vellum, was a whispered legend. Tucked between a dusty bookstore and a cafe that smelled of burnt coffee, the studio was a relic of another time. Its weathered sign, painted in fading gold, promised portraits that captured more than likeness, they captured truths. Clients left with photographs that seemed alive, their eyes glinting with secrets, their expressions shifting when viewed from different angles. Some called Evelyn a genius. Others, in hushed tones, called her cursed. Evelyn, a wiry woman in her late 30s with sharp green eyes and ink-stained fingers, didn't care for the rumors. She lived for the click of her 1923 Deardorff camera, a hulking beast of mahogany and brass that she'd inherited from her grandfather. He'd warned her, in his final days, that the cameras saw too much. It doesn't just capture light, Evie, he'd rasped. It captures what's behind it. She dismissed it as the ramblings of a dying man. But now, after years of strange photographs, clients with shadows that didn't match, backgrounds that held faint, impossible figures, she wasn't so sure. Chapter 1, The Stranger in the Rain. It was October 2025, and a storm was brewing over Charleston. The air was thick with the scent of rain and decay, the kind of night that made you check the locks twice. Evelyn was closing up, her hands smudged with developing chemicals, when the bell above the door chimed. She froze. She'd locked the door an hour ago. In the doorway stood a man, his trench coat dripping onto the hardwood. He was tall, with a face carved from pale marble, high cheekbones, a sharp jaw, and eyes like storm clouds, gray and turbulent. His presence filled the room, heavy as the air before lightning strikes. Evelyn Voss, he asked, his voice low, almost a growl, with an accent she couldn't place, old, somehow, like he belonged to another era. That's me, she said, wiping her hands on her apron. We're closed. I need a portrait, he said, stepping inside without invitation. Tonight. She studied him. His name, he said, was Julian Crane. He was polite but unsettling, his gaze too steady, his smile too sharp. He wanted a single portrait, black and white, no frills. Something timeless, he said, and the word lingered in the air like a threat. Evelyn hesitated. Something about him made her skin prickle, but the studio's rent was overdue, and his cash crisp, old bills was persuasive. She led him to the portrait room, where soft lamps cast warm pools of light and candles flickered in iron holders. The Deardorff sat on its tripod, its lens gleaming like an unblinking eye. Sit there, she said, pointing to a velvet chair. Julian complied, his movements deliberate, almost predatory. As she adjusted the camera, the air grew colder, the candles guttering despite the still room. She peered through the viewfinder, aligning the shot, and froze. In the frame, Julian wasn't alone. Behind him, faint but unmistakable, stood a woman. Her face was blurred, her eyes hollow, her mouth open in a silent scream. Her skeletal hand hovered just above his shoulder, as if reaching for him. Evelyn's heart pounded. She looked up, but the room was empty except for Julian, who stared back, unblinking. Something wrong, he asked, his lips curling into a faint, knowing smile. No, she lied, her voice tight. She snapped the shutter, and the camera whirred, a sound that felt like a warning. The air seemed to press against her, heavy with an unseen presence. She excused herself to the dark room. For complete story, follow the given link below.